Have you narrowed your search down to Chesapeake and Virginia Beach, but you're not quite sure which one is actually the better place to live? If so, I want to save you from making some of the mistakes I've seen a lot of people make when they're relocating to the Hampton Roads area. Because most people compare these two cities completely backwards. They look at home prices, they compare square footage, they search best neighborhoods. Maybe they'll even visit the beach for a weekend. And then they make one of the biggest financial decisions of their lives. But after helping hundreds of people move here, I've learned something. The people who end up loving where they live usually aren't the ones who found the better city. They're the ones who found the city that fit the life they actually wanted. And today, that's exactly what we're trying to figure out. By the end of this video, you'll have a much better idea of which city fits your lifestyle the best. Because honestly, there isn't a right or a wrong answer. There are just different answers for different people. If we haven't met yet, I'm Kerry Tanner, local realtor here in the Hampton Roads area, and I help people make confident real estate decisions without the pressure. I've also relocated here myself, so I understand how difficult it can be to compare cities and neighborhoods when you don't yet know what everyday life in the area is really like. And that's what we're going to focus on today. Not which city is better, but which city may be better for you. But before we compare the two, I want to ask you one question. When you picture your life after the move, what do you actually see? Not the house, but your life. Where are you going during the weekends? What do you want your commute to look like? What do you want to do after work? How much space do you want around you? And how close do you want to be to restaurants, entertainment, shopping, parks, or the water? This is where many people get stuck. They spend months trying to find the perfect house before they've decided what kind of life they want to live around that house. Once you figure that out, choosing between Chesapeake and Virginia Beach becomes much easier. Now, let's start with Virginia Beach. When most people hear Virginia Beach, they immediately think about the ocean. And yes, the beach is an important part of the city's identity. But if that's the only reason you're considering Virginia Beach, you're not seeing the full picture. Virginia Beach is more than just the ocean front. It includes established suburban neighborhoods, newer communities, shopping districts, parks, restaurants, entertainment, military installations, and several areas that feel very different from one another. Living near the ocean front doesn't feel the same as living in Kempsville. Kempsville doesn't feel the same as Red Mill, and Red Mill doesn't feel the same as the more rural areas near Pungo. That variety is one of Virginia Beach's biggest strengths. You can enjoy access to coastal amenities without necessarily living in the middle of a touristy area. You can choose a busier location with more activity nearby, or you can live in a neighborhood that feels much more residential. Virginia Beach generally gives you access to a wide range of restaurants, shopping, entertainment, parks, and events. Depending on where you live, many of those things may be fairly close to home, but convenience comes with trade-offs. Traffic can be heavier in some areas. Certain roads can become more busier during the summer and tourist season, and homes can cost more in certain locations, especially when you're closer to the water or other highly sought after amenities. And depending on the neighborhood and the price range, you may find smaller lots or less outdoor space than you expected. Now, that doesn't make Virginia Beach better or worse. It just means you need to decide how much you value convenience, access, activity, and proximity to the coast compared to space, peace, and price. Now, let's talk about Chesapeake. One of the first things that many people notice about Chesapeake is that it often feels more spread out. There are areas with established neighborhoods, newer construction, waterfront properties, larger lots, suburban communities, and sections that feel noticeably more rural. In some parts of Chesapeake, you may feel like you have more breathing room. You may find larger yards, more green space, neighborhood trails, parks, waterways, and quieter surroundings. But just like Virginia Beach, Chesapeake is not just one experience. Great Bridge feels different from Greenbrier. Greenbrier feels different from Western Branch. And those are areas that feel very different from Hickory, Deep Creek, or South Norfolk. That's why it can be misleading when someone simply says they want to live in Chesapeake. The city covers a large geographic area, and where you live within Chesapeake can completely change your commute, your access to shopping, your surroundings, and your daily routine. Some parts of Chesapeake offer easy access to major shopping areas and highways. Other parts may give you more space and a quieter setting, but require longer drive to reach certain restaurants, entertainment, or services. Again, there isn't a right or wrong answer. It all comes down to trade-offs. You may gain more space but spend more time driving. You may enjoy a quieter environment but have fewer entertainment options close to home. You may find a newer home, but it could be further from the places you visit most often. Here's where I think comparison becomes much more useful. Instead of comparing beaches, parks, restaurants, or house prices, compare an ordinary Tuesday. Weekends can make almost any location feel exciting, but a random Tuesday is your real life. Imagine living in Virginia Beach. You finish work, you meet someone for dinner, you stopped by a shopping center on your way home, you attended a local event, or maybe you take an evening drive toward the water or walk near one of the city's parks. Depending on where you live, you may have a lot of choices within a very short drive. Now, imagine living in Chesapeake. You finish work and head home to a neighborhood that may feel a little quieter. You spend time in the yard. You walk the dog along a neighborhood trail. You visit a nearby park. Maybe you're grilling outside or simply enjoying more space around your home. Neither Tuesday is automatically better, but the important question is which one feels more like the life you want to live. And there's another factor that can matter more than almost everything else we've discussed: your commute. Hampton Roads has bridges, tunnels, highways, military installations, and several waterways that influence how people move throughout the region. A home may look close to your workplace on a map, but the actual drive can feel very different during normal traffic. This is especially important if your job requires you to cross a bridge or a tunnel regularly. The best city for you may not be the one with your favorite amenities. It may be the one that gives you the most manageable daily routine. A 20-minute difference in your commute may not sound like much while you're looking at homes, but when you make that drive twice a day, 5 days a week, it adds up quickly. That's why I recommend identifying the places you'll visit most often before choosing your city. Where will you work? Where do you like to shop? Where will you receive medical care? Where will you spend most of your weekends? Will you frequently visit friends or family in another part of Hampton Roads? And how often do you honestly expect to go to the beach? That last question is very important. A lot of people choose Virginia Beach because they love the idea of being close to the ocean. But being in the same city doesn't always mean you'll be minutes from the beach. Virginia Beach is geographically large, and travel time to the oceanfront can vary significantly depending on where you live. The better question isn't whether you want to live in a city with a beach, it's how much proximity to the beach will actually influence your daily life. The same applies to space in Chesapeake. You may love the idea of a larger yard or a quieter location, but how much yard do you really want to maintain? And are you comfortable driving further if the home that gives you the space is further from work, shopping, or entertainment? Sometimes the feature that attracts you to a city often creates the trade-off that you need to think through more carefully. That's why I don't recommend choosing based on just one general reputation. Virginia Beach isn't only busy, coastal, or tourist focused. Chesapeake isn't just quiet, suburban, or rural. Both cities contain a wide range of homes, neighborhoods, and lifestyles. The better approach is to start with your priorities and then identify the parts of each city that support them. So, which city should you choose? Virginia Beach may deserve a closer look if you value having a wide range of restaurants, shopping, entertainment, coastal amenities, and different neighborhood options within one city. Chesapeake may deserve a closer look if you value more space, a quieter setting, access to parks and nature, or communities that feel more spread out. But those are starting points. They're not the rules. You may find a quiet, spacious neighborhood in Virginia Beach. You may find convenient, active area in Chesapeake. That's why the neighborhood matters just as much as the name of the city. One of the most useful things you can do before making a decision is to spend time in both cities as though you already lived there. Don't just tour houses, drive the route to work during the time that you would normally commute. Visit the grocery stores, stop at the local coffee shop, drive through the neighborhood in the evening. See how far you are from the places that you expect to use regularly, and pay attention to how the area feels on a weekday, not only during the weekend visit. The goal isn't to just decide which city looks better during a tour, it's to decide which one will make your everyday life work better. And if you're still not sure where to begin, this is exactly why I created my free Find Your City tool. It helps you compare the cities throughout Hampton Roads based on your priorities, including your commute, preferred surroundings, access to amenities, home preferences, and the way you want your daily life to feel. You can access it using the link in the description below, and after you complete it, you'll have a much clearer starting point for deciding which cities and areas deserve a closer look. I've also created a free Hampton Roads relocation playbook for anyone who wants a broader overview of the area and the relocation process. That resource is linked below as well. If you take one thing away from this video, let it be this: don't choose the house before you understand the lifestyle around it. The right home in the wrong location can make daily life harder. But when the location supports your routine, your priorities, and the future you're trying to create, the home search becomes much more focused. If you're leaning towards Chesapeake, watch my full video about what you should know before relocating here. I'll link the video on the screen now. And if this video helped you think about the decision differently, subscribe to the channel. I create videos to help you understand your options, think through the trade-offs, and make confident real estate decisions without the pressure. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.